Hello and welcome! Do you remember me talking about Ai The Somnium Files and how I really liked it? Well, I liked it so much that I wanted to bring on someone else to talk about how much we both liked it. I'm Talon Lee, he, him, and this is Nixie, she, her.
Hi.
And you are why this is happening.
Yes, I am.
This is your fault.
This is my fault.
Yes.
I take 100% responsibility, and I'm very smug about it.
So, if you want to know a sort of examination of Ai The Somnium Files as a sort of generalized game product, a visual novel that you can engage with and you can use your brain on, I did a video about that already, in which I actually shouted out that one of my friends got me into this game, and I was really grateful to her for that. And, yeah, this is her.
And you posted my profile picture in the video, like the size of a billboard, and I almost fell out of my seat laughing at that. That was good. Thank you.
Yeah. After all, is not comic timing not using a cute little girl in a way that is excessive and large?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure anime has taught me that.
Okay.
When in doubt, more so. But yeah, so Ai The Somnium Files is a video game that happened at some point in some year, and we both played it and we both liked it. Cool. Video done?
Right.
Now let's go play Mario Kart. No, so it was a visual novel. And, like, again, I've done an in-depth examination of, like, yes, this game does things with the form of the visual novel that I found interesting and whatnot. And that's all there. But also, in that first video, I talked very little about the actual stuff in this game that I loved so much. Like, I was pretty tight-lipped about it because, well, for a start, it's spoiler warning-y and content warning-y.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, this game is, would you say, content warning-y?
Yes, I would say that a lot. Like, a lot. So much
like
content.
One of the challenges in our friend group is pretty much like, who can we recommend this game to who won't be deeply upset by this obvious trigger in it?
Yes, very much. That it's a lot. The game is a lot. I was not adequately prepared for it.
At this point, I'm finding it amazing how much of a surprise the game turned out to be, because, like, I would not have assumed, knowing you, that it would be your jam. Not to say that, I have a particularly narrow vision of what you like. It's just, it wouldn't have occurred to me that, oh no, that's totally going to be a Nixie game.
Right.
It was, like, it doesn't have particularly good guns or planes or moe dress designs. There's no idols. There's no zombies. Like, this isn't to make fun of you. It's just like, I know you have tastes and preferences, and I didn't assume that Ai The Somnium Files overlapped with any of them. There's even a character who pronounces Yakuza terribly.
Yakuza.
Yeah, I'll stop the hearts of a dozen Yakuzas.
I love this game.
God damn.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. No, that the gun in it that Date has just makes my blood curdle. I hate that thing.
Okay, so are we talking like we're not talking like Blade Runner level hate. Like, it's not that bad.
It's almost that bad.
Wow.
Yeah. The Evolver is stupid.
So I guess for some extra context, Nixie knows a lot about guns. In fact, if you're at all interested in the kind of projects I work on in general, Nixie is one of the people I go and talk to when I want to ask a question about guns. She is my own personal cheat commando in this regard. She is the gun haver.
It's true.
And yeah, it is a... the gun isn't very prominent in the game, I'll give it that. Like, it's there.
It's basically an excuse for the QTEs. It's basically an excuse for the QuickTime events.
Yeah, and I actually quite like the way this game handled QTEs. Like, the game very clearly had to have some degree of action in it, because the kind of genre it was not one where you could just have a general all-purpose, like, oh no, we're just going to talk our way through this everything like it's a high school drama.
Oh yeah,
like,
absolutely.
When a high school drama visual novel does that kind of thing, like, that makes complete sense. But in this, you're a cop.
Ai The Somnium Files is a murder mystery game in which you play a detective. There's going to be action, there's going to be fighting, and it's going to involve one of the stupidest handguns I've ever seen.
Yep. And to be fair, it also uses just some of the stupidest in general violence and combat system.
It does.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that, because this is clearly like we can't make a good combat system, so we're not going to force it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That works. Here's what else.
That's a lesson for general game design, by the way. don't try and force what you're not good at. Focus on what you like to do.
And it's the combat system. You're right. That's where they're just going completely non-self serious with it. Like, fuck it. We'll do it live.
Yeah. We'll have a character teleport around a battlefield thanks to a porno mag.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is a serious game.
This is an extremely serious, very content warning game with that.
And also, despite the fact, and I mentioned this in the review, but despite the fact that pornography is mentioned and exists, you never see any of it. Like, normally when a game is like, yes, a porno mag, it'll put the opportunity to make like a cheesy cover or something that you can look at as a game asset because like some artist was bored on their break or something. But no, this one's just like, yes, there are porno mags. You will hear them mentioned a lot, but you will never see one.
Do you not see the cover? I honestly can't remember, which is an important thing I should probably mention for the purposes of this discussion. It's been a really long time since I've played the game now. It's been a while, so it's not fresh in my memory. It was like I was panicking the other day trying to look up, oh crap, what's Iris's mom's name?
Well, you think I'm not going to do this by looking things up in a wiki as we talk?
Oh, no.
You see, I'm an academic. That means I'm referential. But yeah, so before we get into the like heavily spoilery stuff and maybe bang on about the gun, would you like to talk for a little bit about how you discovered the game?
I do.
That kind of thing. All right,
yeah.
Well, please, after you.
It's
story time with Nixie.
It's interesting because the thing is, like, I don't care about video games anymore. I don't do anything except DCS and like 5 minutes of Minecraft a year.
So what you would say is that you play games, but you're not part of or connect to that culture, that sort of hyper-consumerist, paying attention to regular releases, having opinions on, getting involved in arguments. You are, as it were, a video game player, but absolutely not a gamer.
Hell no. I haven't played a new game since Borderlands 2, I think.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I can understand why you stopped.
No, that's not true. I played Ai The Somnium Files. That's a new game.
Well, yeah. Well, it's new to me.
The real indicator to me that I stopped caring about video games is that I looked at my Steam wish list a few years ago and I was like, there's nothing on here. There's like 150 games on this wish list and none of them I actually want. There's a ton of games in my Steam library, many of which I've never played, many of which I probably will never play because I don't care. I would rather spend my time building things and working on stuff and doing game development than playing, random Steam deal of the week.
So Dara O'Brien is an Irish comedian, and he's remarked on how one of the things that happens to you as you get older, which will happen, I assume, at some point to you. I don't think so, though, because you are so effervescent and full of youthful energy. But the nature of these things is that as you get older, you just realize that you stop giving a shit about all the things you used to give a shit about at the same intensity. And he talks about how like there's various bits of culture you just dip out of because you don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And once you're freed from caring about it, you realize that you can just really enjoy what you had. And the example he gives is music, in that he's a 40-year-old man when he did this bit, where the whole the scene of like going to live shows and caring about which people were about to release an album or whatnot is really time consuming, and he just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And not doing that anymore meant that suddenly every song he wanted was already out, and he already owned it. So he could just listen to those and not have to worry about not being cool or connected or engaged or involved. So the same thing happens with video games. Like,
yeah, that's where I'm at with video games.
Yeah, and like, consider this, right? There are lots of people in the world who care about tennis for basically the duration of Wimbledon, and then they don't care about tennis again for the rest of the year. And no one goes, oh, well, how can you really call yourself a tennis fan if you only care about Wimbledon? Like, no, that's a perfectly normal way to engage with tennis. The same thing's true with video games. Like, despite what video game marketing and like the existence of this baneful word gamer wants to imply, video games are not a personality. They're not a born genetic cultural identity. There's no need for a gamer's history month, as it were.
Right. You are allowed to say that you like and enjoy and play video games, even if the only thing you play is Peggle.
Yep. And side note, you should. I did an article a while back now about Peggle, and just like how stunningly engaged the Peggle fandom is, and just how like what good top level Peggle play looks like. It is terrifying.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've known someone like that. I had a friend who got really, really into Peggle, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, it's a very stylish game.
Yeah, it's the same, and like once you start decoupling yourself from the idea of the gamer as market identity and start looking at video games as like cultural exchange and things that people do, and you start to get an appreciation for, amongst other things, games that you don't ever intend to play, like sport.
Huh.
I don't there are a whole range of sports I do not play, and yet I love the way that they shape the culture around them. Like, I'll tell you about Kabaddi at some point, for example, or just like the absolute nonsense that is professional cricket.
You've told me about the absolute nonsense that is professional cricket. That was an interesting conversation.
And periodically, Doc and I will talk about professional wrestling, and like, yeah, professional wrestling is in the same space where it's a sports performance. It is genuinely an amazing kind of sport. It's just, it's not doing the things that people pretend it's doing. It's really interesting. Anyway, point is, you are not a video gamer. You just play video games sometimes.
Yes. I would say that's an accurate summation of where I am at with them now. And the exception to that, the one thing in the past few years that had been sitting on my Steam wish list that I actually cared about and had interest in it, and I was like, I don't want to spend the money on that right now. I don't have the money for that right now, but it's the one shiny thing on the wish list that I still kind of care about. It was that Somnium game that I saw people talking about. Because that's what it was, is the now 15 minutes famous clip of Mizuki at Mama's bar talking about LGBT rights. Like, that, for 5 minutes, that exploded all over my Twitter social circle. And that was like, okay, that's interesting. This game, this looks, that might be cool. I have no idea what it was. I have no idea what it is. And so then somebody linked me to, what was it? What is Ai The Somnium Files and Why Should You Care by Dr. Colin PhD on YouTube, which is a 6-minute long review of the game that like sold me on it. And so I added it to the wish list. And the thing is, I didn't buy it then for a long time because I don't want to say it's an indie game, but it's also, it's
what we would call a AA game.
Okay, yeah. It's not a AAA game. And you kind of look at it and go, wait, they want $60 US for this? I don't know. It's like video game prices are a social construct and they can fuck off. But if you consider $60 as the standard price of, a hypothetically really good AAA title, you look at Ai The Somnium Files and go, why is this game $60? That can't possibly be worth that much. And I will say, if we're assuming that all of that's true, it's absolutely worth the $60 if you're not poor like me.
Well, I mean, Danganronpa has the same thing where there's a certain sticker shock.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, you're just not used. And also, it's a visual novel. We're used to visual novels being $15 things. We're not used to them being these big, expensive things with lots of 3D models. We're used to an entire genre effectively being defined by indie purchases. And someone making an indie game and charging $30 for it, we all sort of go, ooh, someone's a bit big for their boots.
Yeah.
Which is nonsense.
It is.
What is it? I want shorter games made by fewer people being paid more to work less, and I'm not joking.
Oh, I agree. But yeah, that was... like the sticker shock was an issue, and so that sat in my wish list until it was on sale, and then I bought it, and then I played it, and I was like, wow, I should have bought it at full price. I feel that it's worth it for, whether or not the people who made the game would actually see any significant difference if the people who bought it at full price. I have no idea. I don't know how that shit works.
That's one of those enduring arguments in the whole, like, the landscape of game commentary of, like, well, when one assumes this has this effect, but we have no proof for it.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Because capitalism is fake and meritocracy is a lie.
Yep, but yeah, so if you go along with the fairy tale that good games are worth $60, Ai The Somnium Files is worth $60. We'll say that. But I got it. I played it and I was like, holy shit, I love this game. This is amazing. This is my favorite thing in the world. And like,
yep. So what you're describing here is a pretty common thing of like this idea of, well, ironically, this is a big way in which you are not a gamer because you went, oh, hang on, this game would be worth it at a higher price. I'm willing to advocate for that. Whereas, you know, that's not a commercial winning at all costs mentality.
Yeah.
Fake gamer girl.
Right. Fake gamer girl Nixie. And get the merit badge for that.
But yeah, like, around this point is when you started advocating for it hard. I believe I did that thing I commonly do, which is like, hey, are there any games that you would like to hear me talk about? And I believe this was October, right?
Yeah.
Where I was explicitly saying, hey, are there any kind of horror-y games or any kind of spooky games? And you said, well, this one doesn't count, but I want you to talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
Just imagining the Twitter avatar slowly growing and shaking quickly.
But then I was like, yeah, I don't think this counts, but I want you to talk about it anyway. And then you played it and you were like, no, this totally counts.
Yeah, like, I love that when I said, hey, you know, I'm looking for horror, spooky, you know, scary kind of stuff to talk about in October for Halloween. And you're like, I don't think this game that opens with a serial killer tearing out someone's eye really counts as spooky.
I mean, it's a psychological thriller, of course it is, but it's not Halloween flavored. So
it's a psychological thriller where you delve into the dreams of people. Like, if I'd done The Cell as a story in Halloween, no one would bat an eye. And this is The Cell, but it has Mizuki beating up Yakuza with a metal pipe.
Yes.
So it rules.
I bought the game at discount. I thought it was worth full price after I played it. I absolutely loved it. I wanted to share it with all of my friends, and it's like, wow, I love this game. I can't recommend it to anyone because it's freaking horrifying.
Yup.
I was genuinely... There were periods of the game where I had to like stop and get up and walk away for a few minutes because I was like, holy shit, they go a lot harder than I expected them to.
Yeah, and like, as far as like specific trauma triggers go, like, this game goes out of its way to include some remarkably specific kind of horror.
Yep.
Like, I've talked about this when it comes to H.P. Lovecraft, that like Lovecraft actually has an actively transphobic story.
Yep.
But like, this is the 1800s. Transphobia was something you kind of had to like go out of your way for, not because like no one was transphobic, but because trans people and the idea of playing with gender was so alienated that you could just have an entire story where it never, ever, ever comes up. And so the fact that he bothered to go out of his way to include transphobia is like, oh, well, on the one hand, I'm impressed, but also, fuck you.
Yeah.
And before we go on, let's just quickly run down the list of the content warnings for this game, just in case anyone who's feeling a little squicky now can get out if they want to. So, content warning for blood.
Non-sexual violence.
Guns.
Invasion of privacy.
Damage to and removal of eyes.
Loss of identity.
Ego death.
Cancer.
Child endangerment.
Parental neglect.
Parental abuse.
Physical violence against a child.
Mentions of and presence of pornographic material, though not pornographic presentation.
Paranoia.
Extreme violence to an unconscious body.
Extremely violent mutilation.
Animal suits.
Political conspiracy.
Singlet chauvinism.
Memory loss.
Dementia.
Cannibalism.
Some completely gratuitous cruelty to a fat character.
Death of a pregnant woman.
Knife murder.
Being a cop.
Being a cop with special powers.
And alcohol.
Yeah. And, like, that's not truly exhaustive. It's just that's the stuff you'll definitely see on a way through.
Some of my friends were having a conversation recently that I oversaw but was not participating in about this idea of, like, using overly long content warning lists as, like, a bludgeon to make fun of the entire concept of content warnings. And in this case, no, this is, like, we mean this for real, for genuinely.
Anyway, yeah, so this game is super yikesy if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, and so that was why I was like, I was sitting there, I was done, I finished playing it, and I'm like, wow, this was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I can't recommend this to anybody. And then I recommended it to a bunch of people.
Yeah, but with the caveat of like, hey, this is super content warning-y, which, due diligence and all
every
that.
person I recommended the game to, there was like a half an hour long discussion of like, now understand this game is kind of fucked up, but you know, it's got its heart in the right place. I don't know how to put it.
And I'm used to being effectively a giant lumbering bison of toughness when it comes to this kind of thing, surrounded by my friends, who I do tend to see as somewhat more flowery egrets in my wake. So I was expecting when Nixie was like, hey, this thing is really content warning-y, it's real dark, just be careful. I was like, I mean, yeah, I don't think you're wrong, but I'm sure it's going to be a little less severe than Nixie was saying, because, it's just my circle of friends. It's the way they are. They are more sensitive than I tend to be. And that's okay. It's okay to be sensitive. It's okay to be a crybaby.
Yep.
These are not bad things. I was not prepared. And again, this game opens with someone being stabbed in the eye.
It's Ai The Somnium Files is a lot.
Yeah.
So
also chronically unsubtle. Oh my god.
Yes. The thing though is everyone that I recommended it to who played it, which is now like 5 or 6 people, absolutely freaking loved it too. And they continue to do that same dance of recommending it to other people with half an hour of
preamble and content
preamble.
warning.
Yes.
I mean, that's what we just did.
Yeah, that is what we just did.
So with that in mind, now you know what. Now you're all geared up and prepared for the way it could be. Want to talk a bit about what's actually in this game, Nixie?
One thing that I do want to mention, which is both a pain in the ass and like a commendation, is so I played the game on Windows 7. This is probably not a piece of advice that will actually be useful to many people, because Windows 7 is finally on its way out, I think. And most people are probably going to play it on Switch, but it runs bad on Windows 7. The problem that it has on Windows 7 has to do with pre-rendered cutscenes. There's something in how it plays the video of pre-rendered cutscenes that causes the game to hang. And like it doesn't completely freeze, but it just doesn't load the video, and it will just sit there doing nothing with the boss staring at you the entire time, and it's really awkward. And then I have to alt-tab out and kill the game and restart it.
Apologize to boss.
Yes. There's a feature, there's a design feature that I really like in the game, which has nothing to do with the actual gameplay, and it has to do with the save system, which is where this is like kind of a common thing with, narrative-based games. You play it for a while, you get really into the story, but then you get distracted with something in life, like a hospital visit or something, and you drop the game, and then you come back to it like 3 weeks later, and you're like, I'm going to play this again. I don't remember what happened leading up to this. Now I got to start it all over again from the beginning. Ai The Somnium Files has a really nice little design, like interface feature where every time you load a save game, it will show you a bunch of still slides of the previous chapters, the previous scenes leading up to where you are now to kind of jog your memory. And that's really cool. And I like that. The problem is there's no way to turn it off. Ai The Somnium Files has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful accessibility menu. The one thing that I wish was on there that wasn't was the ability to turn that off, because the problem is not being able to skip it when you have to restart the game every 10 minutes, 5 minutes sometimes. Like having to restart the game 10 times in an hour to get through a cutscene heavy part is a giant pain in the ass, and having to sit there through 15 seconds of the game showing you chapter slides makes it worse. And it's that, like, don't play it on Windows 7. But at the same time, the fact that I stuck with it and played through the game, like binged it in 4 days, in spite of that, is like, yeah, it was good enough to be worth that obnoxious amount of effort.
Yeah. I guess in my case, there's a connected example of this where I got this game a couple of days into October, and I still finished it by the end of October and made a video about it in October. Like, I was that engaged with this game that I blew through it very quickly and had the time to make a video about it, which that was a full scripted video. Like, that was a many hundreds of words written down on paper, kind of, like, focused examination of the game.
If I remember correctly, you were trying to record a video that was more freeform, and then you realized it was turning into this, and you were like,
yeah,
no, I need to script this because it's meandering.
Yeah, and also I realized I'd gotten like a half hour through the unscripted version, and I hadn't included a content warning, which, you know, we just kind of underscored that we probably wanted that.
Yeah, a bit. That's an issue. I'm trying to remember. Oh, so with all of that said, the one thing that I do want to talk about is the spoiler curtain to this conversation, because
yes,
there are actually two things that I will beg of you, if anyone listening to this is at this point thinking, oh, I should maybe go play the game. Like, two things. Number one, this is one of the few times in my life that I've been really glad that I wasn't spoiled on the game. I actually, like, most of the time, I'm not the kind of person who cares that much about spoilers. It doesn't bother me that much. Like, if somebody talks about a major plot point in a thing, sometimes that's how I find out about something that I end up liking. That's how I found out about Ascendance of a Bookworm. Was somebody, like, one of my friends live tweeting episode 8, and I was like, oh, that's cool, I'm gonna go watch that. So I don't usually care about spoilers that much, but after watching the Dr. Cullen video, I was like, man, this looks like it's gonna be an experience, and I don't want it spoiled, and I actively avoided spoilers on it. And it's one of the games, it's one of the few times in my life where I'm really, really, really glad I did. Like, holy crap, I would be so disappointed if the game got spoiled for me. So, like, we're gonna talk in this video podcast thing about a bunch of spoilery stuff. And I would say, if you haven't played the game, please go play the game, turn it off, come back when you're older and more mature. I know that's funny coming from me.
Yeah, it's true. What I would say before we jump into that, before we, pull the spoiler curtain, I would like to just list a small number of actual things that are actually in this game that hopefully serve to pique your curiosity as to, well, okay, sure, they've said they liked it, but why? Like, what about this makes it worth liking? And so, without any context, without any follow-up, without any explanation, there is a sequence where a character consumes an unknown pot of soup, puts it on her head, and when asked what the hell just happened, declares that it's elephant soup.
There's also a conversation with people arguing about whether or not pandas are exactly like horses because they both have 5 letters in the name.
There is a recurrent character about whom you learn almost nothing except that you can't remember his name, and it led to a joke so good, I burst out laughing fit to wake up my partner.
What's his name again?
I can't remember. It has genuinely affecting, lovely characters who give you a reason to love them and express a reason that they love you.
It really does.
That's huge.
It does. Do you want to talk about how, like, you brought this up in the other video about how instead of taking characters and going, this person isn't quite what they seem, it goes, this character is exactly what they seem. But,
yeah, and that rules.
But it's really sincere about it, and like they're more than what they seem, but they're also exactly what they seem still.
A mermaid cafe where one of the best visual jokes you'll ever see happens and it never gets explained.
Yep.
And from that, like, just this game is funny, it is intense, it is interesting, it is full of great characterization, and like that's pretty much all we can tell you without getting into the spoiler stuff. So, with that in mind,
it's the characters are wonderful. The story had me on the edge of my seat the whole time, and it really threw me for a loop, and that it felt really good at the end. And I absolutely, what were the words that I used with you where you were like, why do you like this game? No, you were recording the other video and you were like, can you explain briefly why you like this game? And I'm like, because it was an intense emotional experience. And it was.
Yeah. This is a game that will make you feel a lot. Also,
yeah, it will.
Interestingly, it won't challenge you very much, per se. Like, as games go, it's not very difficult.
Yeah.
The puzzles are, with one or two exceptions, very approachable. Most everything can be reattempted infinitely. and the characters, like, if you're the kind of person who has stress about visual novels because you really don't like the fact that this character might not like you anymore, don't stress about that in this case. This game is quite good at that. And also, if you've played any other Chunsoft stuff, I've played a bit. This is the best one I've played, so, you know,
I've heard a lot of people say that, like fans of the Zero Escape series. I've never played another Spike Chunsoft game.
It's tight. Like, the traditional problem of the Spike Chunsoft games is that they are undisciplined messes, and this is a really tight game.
Yeah,
which you may go, hang on, this is? But no, really, it is compared to the other ones. Like, this has got 7 plot lines.
Yeah, we briefly mentioned the QuickTime events. Those actually, they're not bad, but like, in my opinion, they weren't well enough explained, and I was like, it just kind of came out of nowhere, and it took me a few retries to figure out what I was supposed to do. It took me a couple of tries to figure out that, oh, this is a QTE. Okay, but
doesn't even use the standard language of the QTE.
No, it doesn't. So I kind of tripped up over that for a minute, but other than that, it was fine.
All right then.
So yeah. Anyway, that's the 2 pieces of advice. If you have not played the game, actually, I'll make it 3 pieces of advice. One is go watch the Dr. Cullen video if this sounds at all interesting. Can I say we'll put a link in the description?
Yep.
We'll put a link in the description.
And if I don't, she'll come back and bully me about it.
That's true, I will. Number 2, avoid spoilers, even if you're the kind of person who usually doesn't care about spoilers. And number 3, don't play the game with the sound turned off.
Well, that's a jab.
Yeah,
all right. Okay, and now, oh, who's that? Why, it's Spoily, the spoiler bear, here to draw the spoiler curtain. Anyway, so, spoiler talk. Let's see, what do we got in this list? I guess the first thing we have in our list is Shovel Forge.
Shovel Forge. So this is a thing that I mentioned to you before. The reason that I recommended the game to you, you talked a bunch before playing it about how you didn't expect to connect to it because you didn't expect to connect to the same things that I do because we're very different people, which is fair.
Extremely.
Which turned out to be a whole different thing. But the reason that I sent the game to you was not because, oh, Date's a really good dad, or, oh, this part's really, whatever. It's a heartwarming game.
Genuinely
it's cool.
Funny.
It's genuinely funny. It's, tons of fun. The reason that I shared it with you is because, it's a common thing for, fiction to take a known product and put a fake name on it and, whatever. You still get the reference. It's like, oh, haha, she's a Minecraft streamer. I'm sure that joke will never come up in game again.
Yeah, we call them bland name products.
Yeah, I was like, oh, haha, she's a Minecraft streamer. Okay, that makes sense. I wasn't prepared for Ai The Somnium, number 1. I got there and I was like, they're taking this joke and they're running, screaming off of a cliff with it. I got to because I think you were posting a lot about Minecraft at the time, and I was like, oh man, I've got to show Talon this. This is freaking hilarious. I'll get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
Minecraft Iba. Adorable.
Yeah. And incidentally, in the end of the game, when you get the dance function, you can run any character through the dance moves of Invincible Rainbow Arrow.
Yep.
I think that's it. You can run Minecraft Iba through it.
Yep. I love Minecraft Iba. That whole segment, that messed me up so much. Falling out of my seat when I saw her for the first time.
And it uses the logic of a Minecraft-alike to rebuild its somniums. So to do its puzzles, which is also impressive. Like, that's one of those, you didn't have to do it, but the fact that you did shows that you care.
Yeah, very much.
Like, very genuinely impressive kind of comedy.
Yes, absolutely agreed. So, yeah, that was the whole reason that I recommended the game to you, was because the Shovel Forge thing was freaking funny.
But also, one of the things I love about the Shovel Forge bit, he says to spin this off in another direction, is that, like, so one of Iris's problems is that she is a paranoid young woman. Like, fact is, Iris has brain problems.
Oh, yeah.
And one of those problems is that she is literally too online. She is aggressively credible. She will believe a lot of what she's told. And that means that, like, the Shovel Forge thing is full of, like, it's got some classic internet, not actually real mysteries, but internet hoaxes in them, which paints the image of her believing them.
Copy
And
pasta stuff.
Copy pasta stuff. All expressed through the metaphor of Iris's favorite game and the things that you can jam into that favorite game, which also gives it this sort of like Herobrine quality.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, well, I heard this thing's in the game, and it's fucking not in the game. But still, like, the whole idea of it is really, like, funny is the wrong way to phrase it, because it is funny, but it's also absolutely fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
Like, the degree to which Iris is suffering, and she doesn't know she's suffering, and, like, I think this year has been a great testament to exactly what suffering with paranoia can do to a person and what that looks like. Again, content warning, paranoia. And people are like, well, why did you content warning paranoia? Because you have no idea how scary real paranoia can look. Like, holy shit. But it is, the Shovel Forge parody is really good. I'm really fond of when bland name products throw themselves behind it. When it's not just a matter of like, oh yeah, we're going to mention the thing, but we're not actually going to show you. No, we're going to fucking show you. We're going to show you, and we're going to show you the pickaxe. And, oh, what, does this pickaxe look familiar? Oh, I wonder why the pickaxe looks familiar.
Yeah.
We go to this school. We know the rules.
Mm-hmm. This is you're going to probably laugh at this. I daydream about time travel a lot. And one of the things that I daydream in the context of time travel a lot is ending up back in the 90s and remaking modern games that I love, like that are narrative driven. Like there are a lot of modern games that you could put the story in an older engine and make it look like crap and run it on a PC-98, and the story will still be wonderful. And I was thinking about that. I know that's extremely chuny, and I'm okay with that. The problem with thinking about doing that, about going back to the 90s and demaking Ai The Somnium Files, is the Minecraft jokes wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's very dated in the way that
pure way.
In the way that all photographs from 2020 are dated by the fact that, oh, that person's wearing a mask. I know when that photo was taken.
Yeah. And there's really no getting around it. Like it is a fundamental component of like the very cultural landscape. And that's kind of an impressive thing to say about Minecraft, that Minecraft is now literally part of our like social geography.
Yep.
It truly one of the great gifts of Hatsune Miku.
Right. So there are two, aside from the save chapter slides, the save loading slides that I both love and hate. There are two other design elements, and you talked in the other video about elements of the game design that you liked, like free control of the camera and stuff. The other two things that really stood out to me in terms of the interface and the user experience was easing the player into the mechanics, which is something that I think about a lot when I think about game development, is like, wow, this is a really cool, complex system. How are we going to teach the player to like play this, to use this without driving them away because it's too complicated and it's too much? And I really like how Ai The Somnium Files introduces the sync mechanics, because the first, like, the 6-minute time limit is a huge part of it. But the first time, like, you don't want to be learning how the sync works completely under that time limit. So I like that the first sync is completely just, you can stay there as long as you want, doing whatever you want. I really appreciate that the first sync, it's not the first sync because he's not syncing, he's asleep in a chair in a hospital next to Mizuki. In the first dream, there's no time limit, and I really like that. But the even bigger one that I like is, so you do that, and then it takes you to an actual sync, and you sync with Mizuki, and you have to go and do the stuff, and now you know how all of the time mechanics, or you know how all of the other mechanics work. You know how the sync stuff, like the puzzle solving, you know how the puzzle solving works. And now it introduces the time, the 6-minute time limit, and like the bonuses were confusing to me at first, but yeah, that probably could have been explained a little bit better, but you work it out. But the big thing for me was, okay, so the time does not actually stop when you're not moving, because like that's the big thing. You're not moving, time doesn't stop, or time stops when you're not moving. It only flows at normal speed when you are trying to do something. But the when you stop moving, time doesn't stop completely. It just runs really, really, really slow, which narratively is a detail that I like from like a world building perspective. Yes, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Incidentally, this means that you literally get to stop and think.
Yes.
It means that you can literally take a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like really, really just elegant.
1,000th of a second. But what I like is the game illustrating that to you in a way that makes more immediate intuitive sense to me than the numbers do, which is the fact that in Mizuki Somnium, it's raining. And when you are not moving, you can see the raindrops still coming down very slowly.
Which is so cool.
It is so cool. You start moving and then it's like raining normally, and then you stop again, and you got that super slow motion with the raindrops being visible. And like it's super cool looking. It's also really good intuitive design, I think. I absolutely love that.
Another thing I love about that a lot is that it's the kind of stuff you'd normally see show up as a flex like late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is like, no, this is how we start.
So yeah. Talking about, since we're on the subject of the Somniums, do you want to talk about the branching story?
So, I mean, I did that for a bit in my main video.
Yeah.
But, like, the story is interesting because there is a clear, correct path all the way through. It is a story with one clear, coherent canon. But you can't know that story is the correct one until you've experienced all the others. And this... I've talked about this in the context... I talked about this in the other video, and I tend to talk about this pretty consistently. It's like one of my topics, is the idea that this is... Like, we've talked about paratext, and we've talked about subtext, but in this case, it's hypertext. The question of, like, what ending of a visual novel does a player see? The answer is all of them. Players will look at all the endings. That's just, like, one of the things that happens.
Unless they're lazy like me playing Arcade Spirits. Sorry,
but at the same time... Yeah. Well, that's one of the... That's like in that space where, like, the question from the author's perspective, and this is, like, being used in, like, high-level academic conversations of, like, well, how can an author control and share an emotional or narrative experience if they can't be sure what conclusion the player will draw? Like, it creates this whole impossibility of the author. Like, how can the author do the author's job if they can't control what the experience of the subject will be? And the question is like, well, which ending does the subject experience? Which one is the important ending? And the answer is all of them. This was part of the big push to teach Twine, incidentally. That Twine is an example of a system that is approachable in a way that many do not like to think of it as approachable. Like, they don't like the idea that interactive fiction is too easy to make. Because, like, you know, well, if anyone can make it, anyone will make it, and you'll get a whole bunch of stuff that isn't good enough for us.
You're gonna get a whole bunch of stuff that's not good enough anyway.
Well, yeah, and, like, then you have the question of, like, gatekeeping versus...
Yeah.
Like, you know, are some gates worth keeping? And, like, you know, I think that YouTube has suggested that just maybe certain things that publicists used to do were generally a good idea. But that's not the same thing as saying that, like, every queer who wants to make a Twine story about putting on a dress for the first time needs to be kept out of being seen as real or proper interactive fiction. That's shitlordery.
I think it's fair to say that, like, there's at the same time, there's, like, some truth to the whole Sturgeon's Revelation thing of, 90% of everything is crap. 90% of science fiction is crap because 90% of everything is crap. And, like, that's not fair because there's a lot of stuff that I like that a lot of other people, including some of my friends, think is crap. And that's okay because, you know, there's no accounting for taste, but you can still use that and reframe it as, if you look through all of the available material, 90% of it will be stuff that you don't like.
Yeah. A better way to think of it is in terms of you will not respond to everything.
Yeah. But at the same time, the stuff that you don't like, the fact that the people who are making it are getting to make it, that's a net positive.
Yep.
I think we are all richer for those people getting to go and use Twine to make, The Writer Does Something. I think that's the one Twine game I've played.
So, and you know, thus you get to the unshocking and unsurprising point that Nixie and I are both fairly big on radical inclusivity in media spaces. Shock horror.
I know, right?
Like, there is a tradition of the dad game. right?
Hmm.
Like, we saw it. It kind of the bookends I want to say on it are kind of like BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us, where a whole bunch of game developers realized that they had a 14-year-old daughter and she didn't like them that much, and now they're having to try and grapple with, but how do I dad? And so gaming,
Dad of Boy springs to mind. Lord of War.
Yeah. And the thing is, right? It's very easy to look at these as dad games, but the more interesting thing to me is, like, okay, how are they daughter games? Because, it is consistently a daughter figure. Like, it really is consistently a girl of some variety who is the one who is to be rescued or protected or cared for or healed. Though, curiously, very rarely listened to, which, I'm sure that's... I would like to suggest that this is one of the first dad games that actually cares about the daughter much. Not to say that, say, BioShock Infinite doesn't care about Liz, but she is ultimately not an agent in the narrative. She doesn't get to do much.
I'm going to have to take your word on a lot of that, because I honestly have never played any of these games.
Well, no, the focus here instead should be that in Ai The Somnium Files, there are, I want to say, 3 characters who I think of as daughters.
Yes.
And they're all good. They're all great. And they all do stuff, and they're all proactive in different ways to one another.
Yes.
And, that's really noteworthy, because this is typically a space where the girl character's job is to nod, smile, and get out of the way. Or occasionally complicate your desire to chainsaw someone in the face.
Huh.
Because, but what if I'm chainsawing the wrong faces? Yeah, that's it. I've just boiled down the complexity of early BioShock Infinite to you.
Got it.
Anyway, you have these 3 characters. You have these 3 characters, Aiba, Mitsuki, and Iris, and I was wondering what you thought of those 3.
I do want to talk about Aiba, because you're not wrong. I agree with your, observation about her being like a daughter character to Date. You're totally right about that. How did you put it with she's
my terrible shrimp daughter?
Yes, your terrible fluorescent shrimp daughter. How she is really technically young because she's an AI, and she is really naive about the world, and half of the game is Date explaining stuff to her.
Yeah, what is normal? What does normal life look like?
Yeah.
Because there's a whole bunch of stuff where she can look up the statistics and whatnot, and she does that in numerous points to great comedic effect.
Yes. But at the same time, it's funny to me because she's also technically part of his brain. At this point, she's technically part of his nervous system, so that's a little weird.
So, yeah, you have Aiba, who is effectively a naive prodigy daughter, whose whole thing is, she is more competent than you are. She can run your life, you can't run hers.
Yes. She knows a lot about ants.
Yeah. And also, that's the other thing. There is a degree to which she has a neurodivergence, which is, this is going to sound kind of condescending, so I want to be careful about my wording. But there are ways in which neurodivergence are represented media, which tends towards making the neurodivergence into a burden.
Yep.
Whereas in Aiba's case, the fact that she thinks about things the way she does is treated in a way that makes it clear that it is charming. Her interest in bugs is very cute and very sweet. Similarly, there's the whole conversation about implicit communication, which I understand is a thing that, for example, ASD and Spectrum people, that's probably not the right way to phrase that, but Spectrum folk have remarked upon, one of the difficulties of communicating with neurotypical people tends to be this assumption that, oh yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I use these implications. Well, no, I fucking don't. Could you please actually say what you mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's a conversation that they literally have. They just fucking talk about it in Ai The Somnium Files about, well, I think family means this. It's not subtle. It's not trying to hide what it's getting at. And, then at the crescendo point, what is it what is the last line of dialogue between these two?
Tadaima okaeri.
Yeah. Which I'm not going to try and pronounce because I know my Japanese pronunciation is quite terrible, and there are 2 people in the room who would correct me.
Hi, Fox.
But yeah, And so that there is this example where the fact that she thinks of things the way she does. Now, like, it's not ideal because obviously she's not human.
Yeah.
And the neurodivergent non-human, that's extremely well worn and extremely boring, and also provides a whole range of other things as problems.
Yeah.
But also, at least she's a really cool one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love her.
Yeah. I'm really very, very fond of her. She is sweet and charming and obnoxious and smarter than you. And like, if I couldn't love someone who was all of those things at once, then I would have much fewer friends than I currently.
I just freaking remembered the part of the game where, like, this has nothing to do with anything, but I just remember the part of the game where Mizuki is sitting in the backseat of his car. She snuck out of the hospital and is hiding in the backseat of his car. And he's talking to Aiba, and she's like, "You okay?" She says, "Are you okay? You're talking to yourself a lot again." And then, yeah, Aiba brings it. Aiba talks about being introduced to Mizuki eventually. Like, it's going to be he's like, you don't need to be so formal. It's not a wedding proposal. Oh crap, I said that out loud. Date, I think you should go to the hospital.
Oh man.
Freaking love that scene.
And on that note, on to the next daughter, Mitsuki, who like
yes.
Like, oh Christ, you fucking adopt Mitsuki. That just
yeah, that was setting aside the murder, the cannibalism, the gouging out of eyes, all of that stuff with Saito. Like, setting aside the whole fact that this is a murder mystery game, that's not the most horrifying part of it to me. The most horrifying part of it to me was the narrative around Mizuki's parents. Yeah. I was like, I wasn't prepared. That was the point at which I had to get up and walk away for a few minutes. Was like, I'm like, okay, the game is going to talk about a bunch about child abuse, physical child abuse. Oh, there's a big long audio section of Mizuki being hit by her mother. I wasn't prepared for that. Holy shit.
Yeah. And like, one of the details I really appreciate about that is that Date's response to that is not, he does not look at it in terms of like, okay, we can reconcile this, we can fix this, here's how, have you considered not hitting your daughter? It's like, okay, no, we're getting the kid out of there.
Yeah, well, if memory serves correctly, it was,
I'm simplifying.
He talked to Shoko in the bar, and was like, wow, you guys are fucking terrible parents.
Yeah.
And the dad, whose name I can't remember because it's been so long since I played the game, and he's the first freaking person. No, he's the second person who dies. Whatever. No one cares about him. He sucks. Like, when they're talking at the bar, he tries to... He's like, well, maybe you should take her. And Date's like, what the fuck, man? You can't just dump your daughter on your friend. Like,
yeah, it is a supremely fucked up thing to do.
Continual Exhibit C of you guys being freaking awful parents. But then very shortly after that, he realizes, like, wow, okay, you're not going to get better either. Yeah, I'll take her in to get her away from you. The whole section with Date's Somnium, where Mizuki has to go save him, that's a part of the game that made me cry a lot.
Yeah, that section of the game really fucked me up with the bunny.
Yeah.
Like, there's something so heartbreaking about finding, like, something that you loved a lot. Yeah, but at the same time, the character that comes out of it, like, okay, yeah, she's damaged.
Yeah.
But also, like, so this is a really tiny thing, right? But people who have experienced violence often have it in them that violence will be the first thing they turn to as a solution to problems. This is not, like, judgmental. This is not trying to make a point about things. This is just a thing that happens. And in Mitsuki's case, the type of violence she experienced is the type of violence that would normally be linked to things that need approval or proof of self-worth. And in her case, the fact that she is so super strong means that the kind of violence she could do is extremely, like, high impact. She could be extremely, extremely dangerous. And what do we see her use her super strength for? Her super strength. I love the fact that I can say that. Yeah, what do we see her use her super strength for? It's mostly to protect Date.
There are, like, okay, watching Zombieland Saga, as one does, as a Nixie does. Like,
as Nixie is bullying me into doing.
That's correct.
It's okay, I'll do it.
There's a lot of, in my mind, there's like, do I want this gag to be explained or to go unexplained? Which is better? I'm really curious, but also it's really funny that nobody ever examines this.
Yeah.
And like, Mitsuki having super strength and no one like commenting on the fact that she can bench 3 something is what.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember. 220 pounds, I think. She's got 100 kilo on that bar.
It's all imperial measurements. I don't fucking. You could tell me it was made of candy bars, and I wouldn't know.
She can bench Date. That's the important takeaway.
Oh, she can absolutely bench Date. And like, the other thing is, he didn't need those weights. He can't do that.
Yeah.
Why are those weights in that house? Because he got them for her.
Uh-huh.
Because he's really good.
It's kind of weird because, like, talking about this, like, we're explaining it to somebody who doesn't know, even though we're past the spoiler. Probably people have already played it if they're at this point, hopefully. But
Well, also, there are going to be people who want to partake of this video just on the basis of, like, okay, I would really like to play this game, but I know I'm not going to. So I want to hear people who love it talk about it. And that's absolutely a valid way to partake of game media.
I do that with movies with Wikipedia. I'm like, I'm never going to watch that, but I'm at least curious about the plot.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I, to some extent, do that with a lot of AAA video games. So I just look at them and go, is this actually going to do a single thing I find interesting? No.
Yeah.
All right, fuck it.
But
TV
it's
tropes
like,
page.
Same. But I love that, like, that's reminiscent of the Shovel Forge thing again. It's like, not only, can we say, oh yeah, she could bench Date. No, they show her benching 100 kilo. Like, her, what is she, in the 6th grade? I can't remember. Her
She's 12.
teacher, whatever. I think that's 6th grade.
She's fucking 12.
She's 12. Her teacher is sitting there in the room with her, watching her bench 100 kilo on the bar, and doesn't say anything because, like, what are you gonna say?
Goodness me.
Yeah. So, like, this is not weird at all.
Yeah, and that by the way, that's a very Chunsoft thing. Like, there is a whole range of elements of their world which are just like, why is the world this way? It just is. Don't ask any questions.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions and don't make it weird. I can appreciate that.
Yeah. She's One Punch Man strong for no reason.
Uh-huh. But also it means
funny.
It also, well, it is funny, but also it means it gets to play into the narrative, like, when Date needs to be rescued.
Yes.
Who can rescue him? Literally his, garbage trauma daughter.
Yeah. Adopted 12-year-old garbage trauma daughter.
Yeah. And, like, she has her own personality and her own opinions, and crucially, and this is just so important for the type of character she is not impressed with Date. Like, yeah, absolutely, 100% not impressed with him.
No, it's like, yeah,
like, it is so almost impressive to, like, the whole point of her final thing is this question of, like, well, how do I feel about Date? Do I actually like this guy who has replaced my parents? And, like, this sort of introspective moment of, oh no, wait, this guy has been really super good.
Yeah. It's because he's trying so hard. He's trying so hard to take care of her. He's a freaking idiot. Like, on some level, he's a horrible caretaker for a child because he has no idea what he's doing, but he's trying so hard.
Yeah.
He's such a bad dad while being such a good dad.
And that's one of the things I also like about this. Like, he's not perfect, and the areas he has failings are areas that are really obvious when you think in terms of, like, this guy picked up a 12-year-old at the age of 12 and didn't want to have kids in the first place. Like, like, Date is a loser. Look, like, I know it's a joke, but, like, look at Date's wardrobe. It's all the same clothes. Like, Date
that is a freaking hilarious joke with the coat rack.
And of course, when she moved in with him, what happens to her clothes? Coat rack of identical coats. Because he doesn't have his life together. He doesn't know how to live as a person, and that's a whole thing about later in the plot. Like, when you find out that he is essentially a reconstructed human suffering from a traumatic brain injury.
Yep.
Like, and I guess that's part of why so much of this resonated for me, in that there is a lot in this story about extremely damaged, traumatized people with a very particular tool set available to them for causing harm that would advance themselves, and how they resist becoming the people who would do that. And,
yes, definitely.
That's so important to me.
Extremely. With regards to Date being the bad dad, yet super good dad, like the thing that stands out the most to me in the Somnium where Mizuki has to rescue him is the bed. Like,
yeah, he's been sleeping on the couch for a year.
This is, she's been living with him for 4 years. He gives her the bed, and he sleeps on the couch because he thinks it's very important that she have the bed. At no point in 4 years does it occur to him to get another bed.
Yeah, and like we never see any indication that he's poor.
Yeah, no. Have you seen his car?
Yeah.
The car and the stereo.
Yeah, like we know he actually has access to money. He's just too much of a goddamned himbo to think, oh, maybe I should do something with this stuff.
Yes. Oh my god, he really is.
Yeah, and like, you know, the Justice Himbo is an absolutely great kind of character archetype. And then so then you have like Mitsuki so again, this sort of trio of daughters. You have Aiba who knows more than him. You have Mitsuki who can do more than him. And then you have third, Iris, who can feel more than him.
It's true. And believe more than him.
Yeah, and she can trust more than him.
It's true.
Like,
that's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not a good thing that ultimately one of the characters who winds up being Iris's best friends by the end of the story is a stalker. Like,
yeah,
he was definitely stalking her, and they were just kind of like, we're gonna drop that. And like, when is that conversation gonna happen? You reckon? Like when he's like 22 and he's like, well, it's kind of funny, but
he's 24, sorry. And I remember that because they're all multiples of 6.
Yeah, true. It's because symbolism is because subtlety in your symbolism is for fucking cowards.
That's right.
Everything. What does the word AI look like when it's turned upside down?
Roman numeral 6. Sorry, am I not supposed to say that out loud? Right.
Do you get it, Nixie? You see? And her name is Iris, which is like a part of the eye. Yeah, like the whole point of this game, and part of why I find that whole Mitsuki speech so charming about, you know, the LGBT community is because this is not the author pandering. This is how this author makes their points. This game pulls over for rest stops to say, all right, now, are you following along yet? Yes, it's the number 6. There's something important about the number 6. Good. Yes, well done.
This is I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards, the video game.
Yeah. And I really honestly appreciate that. Like,
yes.
Fucking it's not this Jonathan Blow style, well, maybe that's what I meant all along. Like, it really is like genuinely in your face. Here is the obvious plot points we're trying to get to. You know, keep up.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Iris is a character. Well. So I was worried going into this thing that we were going to be dealing with, let's say, some typical, very anime indications about age gaps, and stuff like that. So I was real worried about the way that they looked like they were going to handle Iris.
I remember you being real worried about that.
Yeah,
well, I mean, vocally worried about that.
It's not an inappropriate thing to be worried about, because I was
having a
really fun time with this game, and I didn't want to be like, oh no, this sucks now.
Yeah, no, I get you on that.
But it nonetheless does this wonderful thing of pointing out that like Mitsuki and Iris are friends, which is like, so fucking cool and so sweet. Like the selfie that they take together in one of the endings, and like, don't think too hard about that particular ending, but like, that's so cute.
Yeah. Try not thinking too hard about many of the endings.
Well, you know, there's one good ending, and the rest are all ways you get there.
Yeah, there's just that what's the TV tropes page funny aneurysm moment.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
Wow, that ending was really good, and then you find out about the Saito's body surfing, and it's like, oh no, crap! All of those endings suck now.
Yeah. Similar to this in this same space. with Iris as one of the daughter figures. And this is going to sound really weird because, like, I talk about how it's important that all the daughters get to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
With Iris, you have this conversation that you have to have, and it's the kind of conversation that comes up occasionally with like parenting stuff, which is really difficult, but nonetheless really important because it's the I trust you, but also I think you can be wrong. And if you need to be able to explain to the kid, hey, I'm wrong sometimes, and that's part of your sincere and honest parenting style, then the kid needs to be able to be in a position where you can explain to them, like, I think based on knowing better that you're wrong. And in Mitsuki's case, it's even more heartbreaking because it's tied to medical trauma, where, like, she doesn't necessarily want to think that her reality is being altered by something happening to her brain.
Yep.
And that's, like, fucking heart-rending shit.
So much of this game is heart-rending shit.
Why do we like this game that hurts so much?
It's like why people like jalapeno peppers. Sorry, I'm going to get yelled at by all of my friends who are like, wow, jalapeno? Really? Let's instead bang on about a character we hate.
Go
Ota.
on.
Hate Ota. But I was going to mention, they're such an oddball trio. The 12-year-old super strong, obnoxiously intelligent, but deeply damaged 12-year-old.
Yep.
The brain cancer paranoid 18-year-old Minecraft streamer, and the
remember to like, rate, and subscribe.
Yeah, the 24-year-old Twitter stalker.
Fucking stalker.
Is like, well, the stuff with his family is heartwarming.
Yeah.
He's still a dick.
Yeah, like like the ending song does kind of underscore that he maybe has learned that there is something he needs to do to fix the things that he has become. But
yes,
like that's the start of his story.
Yes.
It's not the end of his story. His story has not yet happened.
Yeah.
And like cousin to this is I don't know if you're aware of this, but this really happened. Are you aware of the story about Ai The Somnium Files getting review bombed?
Yes, I am.
And like that's wild. Like, there's a character in the story who would do that, and someone in real life did that for the same stupid reason.
Which is funny, because then you get the Streisand effect. Because that's apparently half the reason that the game is as popular as it is, for a given limited definition of the word popular.
Yeah, I mean, well, we like it, and we've got excellent taste, so, that'll do.
Yes.
But yeah, so Oda is... There's no two ways about it. Look, Oda, I know I have an extra degree of anxiety about this because I'm actually markedly older than a large number of my friends. Like, I'm in my late 30s, and a lot of my friends are in their mid to late 20s, and some are even younger than that. And like, I get I get that it's a different culture and whatnot, but Oda, dude, you are a 24-year-old college dropout thirsting over an 18-year-old. That is so indescribably uncomfortable. And the fact that you don't think that that's weird is also weird. Like, learn about boundaries, dude. Wow.
Even if the age gap thing weren't a thing, he's still just a creep.
Well, yeah, I mean, the age gap thing the age gap thing amplifies it for me. Like, like, if he was a dipshit 16, if he was a dipshit 16-year-old or a dipshit 12-year-old, I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I guess at that age, I was an immense dipshit, and I can understand being an immense dipshit. But no, it's not. He's an adult. He has jobs. Yeah. Like, he should know better.
Yes. God, I love this game, and I hate Ota.
Yeah. And like, I like... The other thing is, like, Ota's actual message is, like, deeply sad and traumatizing, but none of it excuses Ota being Ota.
No. Yeah, that's like, the big takeaway here. It's like, wow, what happened with the family? It's really sad. We haven't forgotten, by the way.
Don't creep on people on the internet, you fucking weirdo.
Yep.
Anyway, but
the 24-year-old parasocial parasite. That's the third part of this odd couple, or odd trio, where it's like, how are the three of you friends?
Yeah.
How do you know each other? I know how they know each other based on the story. They explain it, but it's still like, how?
Well, think about common ground. Think about the kind of conversations these characters can have outside of the context of the case. And for some of them, that works out really easily. And then you go, like, well, okay, what are Mitsuki and Ota going to talk about? Well, okay, probably the same anime aimed at 12-year-olds.
Argue with me! Tell me you have good taste in anime!
She's so good. She is so absolutely fucking flawless. Like, That whole exchange. Oh my god.
See, okay, winding this back a little bit. The reason that I was so, like, distraught when you told me that you finished the game with the sound off because you didn't want to wake up Fox was because, like, the whole Invincible Rainbow Arrow ending is bizarre and wonderful and funny, but then it starts and it's got a baseline funniness, and then Mizuki shows up standing on top of a storage container singing about kicking people's faces in, and I'm like, that's where that scene skyrockets in hilarious as them dropping that on you and it turning into the big dance number. And I was like, oh man, it's gonna be wonderful when Talon gets to the end of the game. And then you messaged me, you were like, so I just finished the game and I play with the sound off. I've never heard a sadder story.
Sad story in 6 words. Ai The Somnium Files on mute.
Yep. Oh my god, that fucking kills me.
But yeah, so like you have these 3 characters. They're all really engaging and lovely. They're all important to the plot. They all have scenes in which, like, you know how you're like, well, that line of dialogue is an absolute banger. Like the sequence of Mitsuki,
so many of those.
The sequence of Mitsuki trying to wake up Date by appealing to his trash taste in anime and calling him fucking. She calls him Big Brother. Like
everything that comes out of her mouth is amazing.
It's just solid fucking gold. She's funny.
All of their banter just kills me.
And
that's why you haven't had a date in 4 years.
That line is so good because it comes back around in that really, really aching way in the Somnium. Like, oh, yep. Yeah, I'm the reason he hasn't had a date in 4 years. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, he's actually really good. And when one of the things that this story tacitly talks about is the fact that like Date's really horny, but Date is like doing stuff to keep all of that contained away from Mitsuki. And
yeah,
he's not great at it, but also like he's clearly not doing anything worrying about it. Like, it's at the point where she can tease him about it and make fun of him, which indicates that, like, there's this entire element of power there where she effectively has power over him in that part of the relationship, in that she is the one who can say, hey, get out of the room, and he'll leave.
Yeah.
And that's really, really fucking interesting. Especially because, like, well, if he did that in turn, like, where would she fucking go? There's, like, it's a non-factor.
Yeah.
But, like, it's still so heartwarming, the degree of, like, respect he has for her.
Yes.
And, like, yeah, sure, he's an incompetent fucking boob. That's okay. It's okay to be slightly shit. We live in an anime landscape of the Gendo Akaris. Like, slightly shit but trying dad is actually surprisingly high on the watermark.
Yeah, it is. God. He's such a good dad. And, like, that was the other thing going back to, and I've said this so many times, but you saying, like, me telling you about this game, asking you to play this game, telling you that it was an intense emotional experience that I loved and I really connected with the narrative and whatnot. And you were like, that's interesting. I probably won't because I don't connect to the same things you do.
Yeah. Well,
which makes sense. That's fair.
And like some of the things that matter to me about this game are in some cases like weirdly, like worryingly personal. Like, yeah, like the fact that the kind of damage you get from violent environment that shaped you into a different person. Like, I am stunned when I see anything handle that well. Like, even acknowledging that the capacity to do violence changes who you are. And to have a fucking Chunsoft video game which ends with a goddamn dance number? Like, yes. It's not what one would expect if one were me.
No. So that's funny because, that was not something that I look for in games. That's not something that I expected to care about that much, was dad characters. I don't usually care about dad characters that much.
We joke about how boring dad characters are.
Yeah, but it's like, Date is such a good dad. I'm literally crying because Date is such a good dad. He's trying so hard. He's so stupid, but that's so just he's doing his thing. We love him, and it was like, here, play this game, and you're like, this probably won't have anything that I care about. Oh no, Date's such a good dad.
Well, this probably won't affect me the way that... And the thing is, like, again, I'm a dude in his late 30s. You looked at Date and went, he's a good dad. I looked at Date and went, like, I actually can appreciate, like, wanting to be this guy.
Yeah.
Which,
no, I get that.
For a whole range of obvious reasons, that's not your jam.
Yeah. But still...
Like, it's just, like, the context of the character... is startling. Like, there's a lot of stuff that game does really well with the kind of traumatized character that Date is, that shows a respect for that kind of experience that I'm unused to seeing. And I was even more not expecting... It'd be like finding out that someone was secretly... Like, a long time ago, I said to... I don't think it was you, but I said to a friend something along the lines of, I really liked Paranoia Agent, but I would never recommend watch it. She's like, I worked on the dub for Paranoia Agent. Like, oh, okay, so yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Like,
yeah, it happens.
Point is,
I still think it's funny.
Point is, this game is really fucking good, and it gets by on the basis of its characters and their characterization, and the way it can be kind that most things don't bother trying. Like, the respect it shows certain kinds of trauma is genuine.
It punches above its weight in terms of emotional content, and it does it really well. Like, somehow this game takes, the murder and the horrific child abuse and all of that stuff, and it doesn't handle them cheaply.
Yeah.
The way that most other stories would. And also, it's a total screwball comedy, and yet it doesn't cheapen that either. It doesn't cheapen the serious moments by being such a screwball comedy. It's kind of a masterpiece.
And similarly,
in awe.
And similarly, that comedy, that funny angle of the whole thing, that is treated as exactly worthy. Like, it's not like, haha, sorry we had to bring up that stuff, but here's some jokes. And similarly, when they want to make the point that Mitsuki's situation is terrible and is sad, there is an implication that, like, when writers choose to do things, they do them because of what they are choosing to communicate. And this story has a sequence where they're like, okay, we want to communicate that Mitsuki's home environment is unacceptable and terrible. How do we do that? And, like, the big hack's guide to screenwriting would then go like, well, okay, what's the worst thing that could be happening? What could justify this? And they don't do that. They go up to the line and they say, all right, this is a situation that is unacceptable. And then they stop. They don't need to harp on it or make it worse or say, well, actually, in addition to that, here's another thing. It's like, no, it's just, it's bad enough what's happening to her. There is no need for this to be ramped up. It really is just bad that a kid is getting hit.
Yep.
It's weird to say that this game has a good sense of restraint, but, like, it does.
Yeah. I don't know. It just, it handles really serious subjects. It handles them really well, and it doesn't disrespect them with its comedy parts.
Yeah.
And is
it's
somehow
a good way to say it, yeah.
It's not like self-serious in kind of an arrogant, pretentious way. It's extremely serious in a very sincere way.
Yeah.
And it can tell jokes also without detracting from that, and it does such a good job.
Funny is not the opposite of serious.
Yeah.
And I think that's what lies at the heart of Ai The Somnium Files. It is a funny game, but it is as serious as a heart attack.
There's also, the fun with, it's in terms of being both of those things. Oh, haha, Date is so horny, it's obnoxious. This part of the game is, like, really, stupid with the porno mag. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Like, somehow that ties into the plot.
Yeah, and then it doesn't say, like, and now you should feel bad for how you felt about it. It's like, no, it's still a dorky behavior. It's still something that people make fun of him for. It's just, you have a reason for why it is the way it is, and that's it.
Yes.
Now, with all that said, I guess there is a one other detail, which I guess we should definitely get through, which is to say, I have seen the boss come up in conversation with 5 different people who haven't played the game, who have all mentioned her stepping on people. I have no idea why.
That is funny, though. You're right. Yeah, the boss is powerful amongst certain people I know.
It is interesting that this game has every reason to rely on girl hot, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, there is also, I guess, an additional factor in all of this is that characteristically, the nature of this narrative is one where there are going to be lots of those incidents, just those little one-off moments of like, oh, that gave me a reaction. Like, I am sure that there are some people who are going to have gender feels over the fact that at one point you wind up stuck in the boss's body.
I spent a non-trivial amount of time brainstorming about fan fiction in an ending that could get Date stuck in a woman's body, and then realized that he likes that.
Yeah, and like that's you know,
I didn't come up with an answer that didn't screw over one of the other characters that I like.
Yeah, and
so
that's also worth knowing. You know, showing that restraint, that's good. But also at the same time, like, that is a thing that this story opens up. That is a factor in this narrative space, that this is a gender feelsy kind of thing. There is a lot of identity feelsy stuff. Like, you know, there's a shitload of found family stuff, obviously. That's like we've been harping on for the past however long.
Yeah.
But like, it is interesting to me to consider that this is a game which, like, this game is going to be a lot of people's favorite game. And there are going to be a lot of people who never connect to it, never give a shit. And that's okay. Like, not everything is everyone's favorite. But it strikes me so much the way that this game is made up of, like, these concentrated moments of, this is gonna stick with you. Just so you know, you're gonna carry this one.
Yep.
And, like,
it's
15 years from now, you're gonna be asked about, like, you know, what was your favorite video game growing up? And you're gonna say, oh, it's this little obscure thing, like, it's just gonna be one of those kinds of things. As you might have noticed by the disjointed nature of this presentation, like, there's a lot here. There's just a lot. And so what we've done here, what we've presented, is kind of just 2 friends who love something and love each other, and that game gives them something to share, just kind of bubbling at each other for a bit. Is that fair to say?
That's fair. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and so there's no structure, there's no point, there's no greater thesis statement at work here. We just really fucking like this game, and because
we really love this game.
Yeah, and the first time I talked about it, I mostly did it in the vague sort of like, well, I can't tell you why I love this game or what's so good about this game, so just like, no, here, this game's great, go check it out.
Yeah.
It has a good hot dad in it, which is a rare thing for an anime.
Well, he's not hot in the end.
No.
I mean, I'm not the person to be deciding that, because...
Yeah, industrial strength lesbianism.
But it's like, wow. He's been through some shit. That body's rough.
Yep. And speaking as someone who has been through some shit and whose body is rough, like, yeah, alright, fine, I'll take it.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's just the 2 of us rambling about how good this game is, and I'm okay with that.
So, add this to the realm of lesbian wisdom of watch Symphogear, play Ai The Somnium File, eat hot chip, and attack and dethrone God, right?
Yes. If there's anything else that you take away from this talk about Ai The Somnium Files, it's watch Zombieland Saga and play Ai The Somnium Files. Well, if you're at this point of the video, you should already have played it, but we already talked about that.
Send tweet.